Welcome to Permission to Kick Ass, a podcast about leaving self-doubt in the dust, punching fear in the face, and taking bold action toward your biggest dreams. I'm Angie Coley, and let's get to it. Hey, and welcome back to Permission to Kick Ass. With me today is my new friend, Matt Peet. Say hi, Matt.
What is up? I'm so excited to be here.
I know, it's really funny because we met through almost like a friend of a friend of a friend, because there's somebody that I know in the copywriting world that connected me with another lady. I went on her podcast. We had such a fantastic time. She introduced me to you. Then I've been on your podcast, and it's just like a love fest. This is
right.
It's the power of following the steps that appear in front of you and just seeing what happens. Like, you really connect with awesome people that way when you stay open. That's just like my little mini rant to start this thing.
I love it.
You meet awesome people by saying yes and figuring it out. Cool. Yep. What's really awesome is that I know on our last call, you and I were talking about something really interesting, which was that you were relatively new to marketing, but you got the attention of somebody who's like considered to be a marketing superstar. His name is John Lee Dumas, and he runs the podcast Entrepreneurs on Fire. And I really want to dig into that more and hear like how you got in touch with him.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got my start in video back in 2010. I think it was my senior year of high school, about to go into college. I was taking like a mini block journalism class where I did video. Started doing that all through college, went to college for graphic design, continued to study video, graduated, and I was working at a job where I was making $24,000 a year. And I was having to drive, because I wasn't getting paid enough, I was having to drive an hour and a half one way to work and then back home in the afternoon. Yeah.
Brutal.
So I was listening to Entrepreneur on Fire, 3 episodes there, 3 episodes back every day. And it really just had me like excited. And I was like, I can make this video thing a business. So like I started out in weddings, started doing that. It was going well. You know, I got to where I was charging $2,000 a wedding at that point. And I was like, I really want to just do something crazy. Like, I had a coach at the time, and he's like, reach out to somebody with no expectation of anything in return. So I kind of had that in the back of my mind the whole time. And I was following John, loving his stuff. And one day he posted that he was going to be on a webinar for a guy named David Siteman Garland, who has a course for creating online courses. So like courseception, basically. John said he was going to be there basically as an affiliate. He was bringing the numbers. He was getting some kickback, that kind of thing. But John was going to be on the call. I was like, awesome. I'll just go hang out and maybe get John's attention, And on the call, listen to the whole thing. John, I think, maybe said 3 words after the intro the whole time. Like it was a sales pitch for the course, which is a cool course. It's well put together, but I didn't need it. I was, I was working a dead end job for $24,000 a year. I didn't need to have a reason to create a course.
Yeah.
So right at the end, as he was like winding down the information side of the webinar and going into the sales pitch side of the webinar, I was like, all right, I don't need to be here for any of this. And then about that time, John came on and he was talking about it. And John's like, all right, well, I've got one extra thing that I didn't tell you about that I'm going to offer to people who buy the course. And I was like, all right, I'll stick around. He's like, for the first 10 people that buy this course, I'm going to give those 10 people a 10-minute strategy session with me. They get to submit 4 questions and, we'll hang out on a Zoom call or Skype. I think it was Skype at that time. Skype for 10 minutes and I'll answer your questions. We'll just, help you get further down the road kind of thing. I was like, okay. In that moment, time stopped for me because I was like, $1,500 course that I don't need. I was literally here to say hey to John, but I can have 10 minutes of John's undivided attention for $1,500. So I was like, crap, I got to do it. So I went and got my credit card. Again, making $24,000 a year. I don't have $1,500 to give to this guy. So I signed up on his payment plan. I think it was like $100 a month for like a year, and some months it was $1,500. And you had to wait 30 days because obviously 30-day money back guarantee. The call
the
was
refund
after that.
period.
Exactly. Yep. The call happened after that. So I had 30 days until I had this call with John. I submitted my 4 questions. I don't remember what the questions were. For me, the questions weren't important. I didn't care about those. My goal was to go back to what my coach was telling me months before, reach out to somebody, do something for them without any expectation of anything in return. So I was like, okay, I built a website, a web page on the back of my website for John. And it was for John, like wasn't a published page on my website. It was hidden. You could only get to it with the link. And I shot videos of me talking, just like we're talking right now, just me talking to him. Hey, John, this is who I am. There'll be a separate video. You know, here's how you can use video in this part of your business. Here's why I should be the one to do it, kind of thing. Basically selling myself to him. And I was like, I want to make you a video free of charge, basically, on this webpage. So trying to condense this story. The day of the call came and I had 10 minutes. He answered my 4 questions. It was fine. And at the end of the call, I was like, all right, I know I'm running out of time here. I think we went like 12 or 13 minutes. But at the end of the call, wrapping up, I was like, all right, so I've built a web page for you on my website. I want you to go check it out. I have something to offer for you there just whenever you get the time. And I was like, and if you're like, I don't want to check this out, I don't care about this, I put 2 codes for Audible subscriptions, so free audiobooks, on the bottom of the web page for you and Kate, his girlfriend at the time. And I was like, if for no other reason, go to this link, go to this bottom of the page, copy the codes and get the free audiobooks. Because my mentality is I'm getting him on this page to the point where it's like, I might as well check it out since I'm already here. So I got him on the page with the free Audible subscriptions. And he emailed me back about 4 days later and he just, heck yes. Because that was his mentality at the time. If it's not a heck yes, then it's a no. He was like, dude, you are a quality person, the kind of person I want to be associated with. And that led to me shooting some video for him, which is a really cool experience. Sorry, it was a long story. I was trying to get the core elements there. That's
great. That's such a great story. And it gave such great context as to like who he is and why you wanted to get on his radar. And I think like you did everything right. You know, I'm not John Lee Dumas or anything like that, but I have been on, you know, running teams for a pretty well-known dude and then, you know, borrowed authority by proxy. A lot of people reach out to me and they want stuff from me, you know, like, and I'm happy to help where I can. I think I've talked on other podcasts about like, I have a 5-minute rule. Usually if something takes me 5 minutes or less, I'm happy to do it. So like, if you reach out to me and you're like, do you know anybody who does this? I'll connect you to someone. I'll send you a free resource, something like that. But like, if you're starting to ask me like, hey, can I pick your brain? No, I have a consultation for that. Like, hey, could I get you to do this? My favorite one was, will you pitch this to Jeff? And I was like, no. I used to tell people like here's one way to get somebody's attention. Like if you want to go after a guru, similar to the way Matt did, use their products, get results, because you're actually helping them by testing out their methods, getting results. They can help other people with this by sharing your story. So like, that's a good idea for getting their attention if you don't want to go the route that Matt did. But the smart thing that I really want to point out is that exactly like your coach said, no expectation. You made it as enticing as humanly possible. You went and went for the big ask without talking yourself down off a ledge and being like, well, no, he's not going to want, like giving yourself all the reason that he's going to say no. And I love that, like kind of keeping in the back of your mind, okay, well, he could say no, but what if he says yes? So I might as well just make this ask and I'll make it, you know, no conditions. He doesn't have to like opt into my list to get this free offer or anything like that. Pure give. Totally free. Yeah. And well, it was totally free. And you had to give on top of that based on what you knew about him, about the Audible subscription. I'm assuming that he must've mentioned, I love Audible somewhere. And you were like, cool. He in his episodes back when he was doing those daily episodes, he would always ask about their favorite book. So I was like, I'm going to give him some free audiobooks. And that's such a simple way to show that you're paying attention. And like, especially in marketing, it can be tempting to go like really over the top and do these like fancy direct mail packages, or, you know, like the guy that made the resume in the donut box, or like the custom beer, like it can get really over the top with creativity really quickly. But sometimes it's really, really simple, like person to person, something very thoughtful for them, along with an ask and how can I help you? Versus how can you help me? Like that is the really, really important distinction that I want to make. When somebody came up and asked me to pitch something to Jeff, they wanted me to do something for them.
Yeah.
What did I get out of that? And not to sound like a dickhead or anything, but like, how is this benefiting me? It's really not. And it's a use of my time. So like, might as well make it sweet for me, because then I want to do something for you.
Exactly. Like if they're going to use you to pitch something to him, like they need to be your best friend. Like, yeah.
And that's the flip side of that coin too, because like if I refer somebody, they reflect on me. So I take referrals very seriously. And
absolutely,
if I don't know the quality of somebody's work, then I will literally say that in the referral. I've heard this person does this work. I haven't had a chance to work with them yet, but could be a good fit for you. I'll leave it to you to figure out. I think that's so great. And the thing that I really wanted to celebrate you for was taking massive action, because with entrepreneurs and creative freelancers, especially in bootstrap stage, like you were, $24,000 a year, 3-hour commute all in. Oh my God, I feel that on such a deep level because I've been there too. Podcasts were my favorite thing on my 2-hour commutes too. Investing in something just to see if it could leapfrog you to the next level. You know, like one massive leap forward versus slow and steady. And they're both tactics and they both work. But I really just want to celebrate that, because I think it's really important to put yourself out there in the way that you did.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that back to that quote, like I always hear, if you're not going to believe in yourself, then nobody is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I invested in myself because I was my business. I am my business. Like if I'm not going to believe that I can make something awesome for John Lee Dumas, even though I'd only been doing video for right at 5 years at that point, like I was still relatively new considering I went through college and everything. I had to believe in myself and my all-in investment once I got done. Cause I told him, I was like, I want to make a video for you. I'm going to fly out to wherever you need me. I'm going to shoot it. If you don't like the video, we'll put it in the trash bin and no one will ever know that you even talked to me. Mm-hmm. That's the deal I made with him. All in, it was about $4,000 for me.
Mm-hmm. Including the course investment?
Yeah, it includes his course investment, $1,500, plane tickets for me and my girlfriend to fly out to Texas where he was keynote speaking, hotel room, food, all of that kind of stuff. Is about $4,000, right around $4,000.
Mm-hmm. And then, okay, so the real question, did he like the video?
Oh, absolutely. So what ended up happening, he was keynote speaking at a conference called Podcast Movement. And he had a meetup the night before with all of his Podcasters Paradise people, his community that went to the conference. And so I shot a video at that meetup, sent it to him that night, and then he put it in his slide deck for his keynote talk.
Holy
the
shit.
Next day. Yeah. So 3,000, I think it was actually probably closer to 2,000 people at that time at the conference. Just got to see the video that I made for him the night before. And because he was talking about the power of community and connecting with people. And he's like, just last night we had a meetup and I had a videographer there to catch this video. And he showed that video to everybody at the conference and he loved it. It went over great.
Look, see, without big risks, you don't get the big rewards like that. Like you don't keep your head down and work quietly and hope for someone to notice you. You believe in yourself and your work and you put it out there and you ask for opportunities without any expectation, right? Like don't get pissed off if John Lee Dumas doesn't use this, but like you did your best and he loved it. And I think you did your best and he loved it precisely because you were like, I believe in myself. I've got this skill. I'm going to do the best I can. Like, how do I articulate this? It's one of those few times that I'm struggling for the words there, but like, you didn't go to him for validation. Like, I'm going to make this video and you decide if I'm any good. It was like, I'm going to make you the best possible video that I can make. And you decide if you can use it.
Yep.
And that's such a subtle shade of distinction, but I think it's an important one to make because I like creatives. I want you to hear this. Yes, there's always room to improve. No, there's no such thing as a perfect project. But also no, you don't need to wait for someone else to tell you you're good.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, oh, rant time. You know how many years I waited to sing on stage because I wanted someone to be like, you're a good singer. You know what? You should be in a band. It's such a stupid little head trash thing that I let hold me back. And then of course, extra head trash. And on top of that, you're going to forget the words. You're going to make an asshole out of yourself. You're going to embarrass yourself. You're going to embarrass the band. They're going to laugh you off the stage. There's going to be a black mark on your record. Nobody will ever let you sing anywhere in the world ever again. I auditioned for a band and forgot the words to my first 2 songs of my 4-song set. And of course I was mortified, but then it was funny because nobody else can see me. But it's like my guitarist, he realizes that I'm like deer in the headlights mode, and he kind of like side eyes me and then leans into the microphone and starts singing the song, which immediately jogged my memory. And then I jumped in on harmony like, ooh, I totally meant to do that. And like, that's another one of those decision points, right? I don't know that I consciously made the decision so much as like, I can either slink off stage embarrassed and quit now, or I can try and salvage this thing that I'm in the middle of. This is my worst nightmare. I just messed up on this thing and I really want this gig, but he's giving me a chance. I could salvage this. We could still entertain the hell out of people. Let's see what happens.
I love that. Now, I'm over here rolling because I play guitar, and when I was in high school, I was in a band, and I was in one of those situations in front of my entire school. And what it came down to is we had a guy in the band who didn't like to practice.
Ah, love those.
So like we'd show up, me and the piano player would show up, and this guy was like lead vocals. He did some rhythm guitar. So it'd be me, the piano player, and the drums and the bass player. Lead singer guy was like nowhere to be found. So like we would have our own jam sessions, practice, but no real order. We didn't know what to practice. The day of the show came, and it was for my school for a Halloween event. And I was all excited, got there. The lead singer didn't bring a microphone stand. Like, like, dude, this is your instrument. You didn't bring the thing to hold it. And so I literally had to, like, our place where we had the microphone stand was probably 2 or 3 football fields away. Luckily, it was nearby-ish. I literally had to run to go get this microphone stand before our set started, and we just crashed and burned. Like, the most embarrassing concert. Like when you go to a concert or a show and you're in the audience, I don't know if anybody else says, I do this when I go to a play. I'm like, oh man, I really hope they don't forget the lines. Like I'm nervous for them. I don't know if that's like a projection thing for me. The people in the audience that day, I can't imagine the anxiety they were feeling as we crashed and burned. But like you said, put yourself out there. Like, I have this really funny story. It's like the AJR song, 100 bad days makes 100 good stories. I've got a really interesting story that I crashed and burned on stage. Like, we just flopped. Like, my teacher the next day, I walked into class and he's like, oh, so you actually came to school today? I was like, dang, he went there.
Oh man. But you know, you said something really cool just then too, that I think, so many of us, especially we put ourselves out there, especially in a visible position. Starting a business is a visible position. You put yourself out there on the internet for the world to see. People can make fun of you. People have made fun of this podcast. I made fun of them right back. It was great. But you pointed out how being in the audience for a play, you're nervous for them. And to me, that speaks to a certain kind of, a special kind of empathy. And look, guys, if you're starting a business, if you're putting yourself out there, there are a lot more guys like Matt in the audience than there are people that throw rotten tomatoes. You know what I mean? Like, there are a lot more people out there that are rooting for you, that hope you do well, that are kind of sending you that energy of like, I hope it goes really well for you. I totally get what it's like to bomb. I don't want you to have to feel that feeling. So like, all my love to you. Yep. Oh God. And this is to circle back to what you did with John Lee Dumas, which I think is such a fantastic, I don't want to say personal risk, but just, putting yourself out there for the potential to be ignored. I don't think that he's the kind of person that would make fun of people because, I mean, let's face it, most people that have gotten to a certain level of success, you don't have time to make fun of people and snark. Yeah. Like, look, there's my little trick. If somebody's making fun of you and they're being mean to you on the internet, they have too much time on their hands. They don't actually run a business. It's okay. Yeah. I don't give a shit what they think, Yep. So, putting yourself out there to be ignored potentially, to be made fun of potentially, to have people like another person that wants something from me. And just to come at it from that purity of heart of like, well, I really admire this guy. I'd love, like, dream job, would love to work with him. If he says no, it's going to be a disappointment, but I'm going to do my best to make this a sweet ass deal so that he doesn't say no. And then I'm going to give it my all when I get this opportunity, instead of immediately falling into an anxiety spiral of like, it's my one shot. What if I fuck it up? I think, in a certain sense, I think that musicians almost have an extra advantage on that score, because most of us have bombed on stage before.
True. Yep.
The show must go on is there for a reason, guys, because it doesn't care whether you messed up or not. People are there to be entertained. So get on with it.
And like I said, John loved the video. He ended up using it. And while we were there, we found out that the conference that John was speaking at was hosting a cruise in November, like a 7-day podcast Paradise cruise. They were partnering with John. I was like, while I was there with my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, I was like, my goal for us being here is to do such a great job that they invite us to come on the cruise to do the same thing for the cruise. I was like, I want them to be so impressed. They're like, we have to bring them on this cruise. So we got back home, shot the video, got back home. Just looking back, being like, okay, that was an awesome experience. I got to meet John. I got my selfie with him. It was really cool. And about a week later, Kate, his girlfriend, emailed me and was like, hey, we have this cruise coming up and we'd love to have you on it. So like, I got to go on the cruise. I got to meet the creators of Podcast Movement there. And I remember one of the creators, we were talking to both of them. One of them was like, yeah, Jared was in the back of the room watching John's video at Podcast Movement. And he's like, he just sounded like Forrest Gump. He's like, I want that. Because John had that like on-site sizzle is what John coined the term for me. But yeah, so I got to go on that cruise. They then reached back out to me the next year and they're like, hey, we had somebody do video for us at the last conference, but honestly, your video that you did for John was better. They're like, did you possibly get any footage of just the event that you could put together like a short highlight? I was like, yeah, for sure. So I was there to not only make a good impression for John, but to do the best job possible. So I had footage of the event. I put together a highlight for them. They ended up using it in their marketing. They then asked me if I would shoot the next Podcast Movement for them.
Nice.
As they were getting started, because they started in 2014, that was 2015. So I went and shot 2016 for them for free. Again, I didn't get paid for the cruise. I didn't get paid to shoot the next Podcast Movement. They did that. So that was 2016. They did another cruise, February of 2017. I shot that one for free. 2018, I shot that one for free. So tons. I've spent $4,000 at this point and I've made nothing. I'm deep in the red at this point because just like gas cost alone, food getting to places. But 2019, they approached me and they're like, hey, we want you to put in a bid because we're now at the point we've grown. We want you to submit a bid based on all of this stuff that we need. So you've been delivering us this for free. We also want these edited videos and this stuff added on. I was like, awesome. They're like asking for a bid. And I talked to the guy. We went back and forth a couple of times. He's like, I want you to submit a bid, but we have an RFP out or request for proposals for other companies to submit bids for 2019. We're going to be in Anaheim, Disneyland. I was super excited because I went to Disneyland. Me and my wife got married at Disney World. So of course I want to go to Disneyland. That.
I'm laughing because the people I don't release this video when we're filming, but like when Matt came on, I was geeking out because he's got a picture of Cinderella Castle from Disney World and it's all decked out in his 50th anniversary. And so we spent like a good solid 5 minutes geeking out over Disney World. It was fantastic. That's how we did our sound check. Let's talk about all of this Disney shit. But anyway, continue. Podcast at Disneyland.
Yeah. So they told me, hey, we want you to submit a proposal. And he's like, and honestly, like if you come in, within 25% of what other people are quoting us, he's like, we're going to go with you because we like your style and everything. So I had like a good $5,000 buffer there of where I could come in. So I went back and forth because to this point I'd been doing weddings for $2,000 to $3,000 a piece, which good money. Don't get me wrong. Great money. But this quote, I was like, I've never quoted something this large. Like this is going to be huge. So like I got friends who were in businesses, and I was like, how much should I quote for this? What do you think? What do you think? Ended up quoting $28,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So I remember like looking at my wife and being like, this could be that defining moment for me where I'm able to get out of weddings and start doing business stuff, and it's going to be a game changer. We were all excited. I hit submit on that email. So this was in 2017, going to 2018, I believe it was. I might have the years wrong. Either way, doesn't matter. So hit submit on the email. I was like all excited. I was super anxious and nervous. Then me and my wife left as soon as I submitted that email, sent the email, left to go get married at Disney World.
Awesome.
So I was like, awesome. I'm just submitted a quote for $28,000. I'm going to get married at Disney World. Like, life is good right now. I was so excited. Got married, honeymooned at Disney World, came back a couple weeks later. And I was like, I haven't heard anything back from them, which, I was on my honeymoon, wasn't really exactly checking emails a lot. So I emailed the guy. I was like, hey, I wanted to follow up, see if you guys had any questions about the contract proposal. If you want me to go ahead and send that contract over so we can get it signed. And he emailed me back. He's like, hey, man, can we jump on a call? I was like, yeah, sure. Figured man, I have questions. I got on the call with him and he's like, hey, unfortunately, we decided to go with another company for this bid.
What?
Yeah. And in my head in that moment, like kind of like that moment when I reached out to John the first time where time stood still and I knew I had to act. Time froze because again, up to this point, I'd reached out to John. I'd shot for him. I'd shot 3 events for free, 2 cruises for free. I was thousands of dollars in the hole. And the bid that had been building up for the past 3 or 4 years at this point, I just lost. And I got chills, like cold chills over my entire body. I don't remember exactly everything he said in that break because everything just turned to white noise. Like I was like panic freaking out. Like I just saw that opportunity slipping away. And he's like, I asked him, I was like, well, how much did the other people bid? And he's like, they came in $5,000 under you guys. And I just remember thinking, I was like, you told me that you were going to go with me. Like, it didn't matter. Like, because, you like working with me. He's like, yeah, we have, the investors that we, need to keep happy and that kind of stuff. And I was like, from a business owner, like I get, you have people that you have to keep happy. You can't just throw money away. Totally understand that. But it was really like a really deep cut. Like you can ask my wife, that was like a depressed moment in my life. Like for 3 days, I didn't talk. Like I didn't say a word for 3 to 4 days. Like she didn't know what to do because like she'd wake up. I wouldn't get out of bed. I would just stay in bed. I wouldn't say anything. She'd come home, wouldn't say anything, just head nods and everything. I was really depressed just because of all that lost time. And I tried not to take it personally, because that can add extra emotion in a business deal that doesn't need to be there. It's a business deal. So got past that and I was like, all right, well, going to go all in on weddings, still have that business. We're going to be fine financially. I just really wanted that to happen for us. Wanted to give my wife that experience, but kept going. And the next year they reached back out to me like, hey man, we're getting ready for our next podcast movement. We'd love for you to submit a bid again. The company they ended up going with did them wrong and had hidden fees to the tune of $5,000.
Who knew? What? When you cheap out, you tend to get it back in fees.
So like they ended up spending the same amount of money with them anyways. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I'd love to. Went back to the drawing board on everything they need and all that kind of stuff. And I submitted a quote this time, adjusted for what they needed versus what they had in house, all that kind of stuff. Submitted a quote for $17,500 or $18,000, right at $18,000. And I got the job.
Woohoo!
So the next year, like finally after like 5 years of like back and forth, free work, losing gigs, all that kind of stuff, I finally booked it for $18,000. And 18,000 wasn't me cutting myself short. That's just what the bid ended up being. They booked it and I've been working with them now for 4 or 5 years. That was 2018. I think it was 2019. So a good many years now. And I've made that money back, that my initial investment with John that I invested in 2014, 2015, whatever that was. I finally made that money back over the past few years. And the relationship that I have with these guys at Podcast Movement is amazing. Like Jared, he has a daughter and a wife, and we go to Disney together. Like,
yes,
we've been to Disneyland with them now, and we've been to Disney World, and me and my wife just moved to Disney World, and Jared's down in Florida. So we get to go to Disney World with them now and like have a great working relationship and helping them with their marketing. And it just, once I booked that, I was like, okay, I'm on to something because I was able to do it. Now, obviously I need to be able to do it in faster than 6 years for it to land a lead.
You know what? I'm going to gently challenge that. The time that you move on is your own. And I said, because I think I had somebody say, and they meant it well, but like they were interviewing me for a podcast and they were like, so it took you 10 years to get here. What do you think took so long? And they must have seen my face and like quickly rephrased like, yeah, that could be interpreted a wrong way. And I was like, well, what I would say to people that are worried about the timeline they're on is you take your own damn time. The time that you're on is it's the perfect pace for you. You usually stay where you are until you learn a lesson or you make a connection that you needed to make, and then you're ready to move on. Or sometimes in this instance, like they learned a lesson they needed to learn before choosing you as the obvious. Like, see, sometimes like, and I wanted to point that out, like the brilliance of not taking it personally, not shutting the door to this, and like not attaching hurt feelings to, well, like they took advantage of me, and like we worked together and it did all this free work, and how dare them? Like, you just, I did good work and this really sucks and this really hurts. But then they reached out when they realized they made a mistake, and you were there in the clutch to do this good work, to submit this bid again. And you didn't torch the relationship because things didn't go your way. And I think that's really, really important. Like, it's really tempting, especially when we attach to something like, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Oh God, I really hope that I do well. Like, and all of that just ain't like, I realize people can't see me, so I probably need to use my words. Like the angst that gets attached to this, the identity that we attach to this. Like, if this fails, who am I even as a person? Yeah, you can't take that personally. And this situation is such a perfect illustration why. Like, even if they were dicks about it, it was just like, all right, well, I tried my best. That was a really good connection. Hey, I've got great samples. Like, look at, I can use this as work to get other work. Like, there's a bright side to all of that, even though for a while it really sucked.
Yeah. And, you know, if there's one thing that I could just like, because what held me back, I think, on that timeline, and I agree, like, your own timeline is your own, but part of what held me back was this fear the fear of failure the whole time. Like, yeah, I reached out to John and it worked, but in those 6 years, I should have done that at least once a year for somebody. Reached out to somebody. Because, I mean, I know a lot of really cool people. I've got to shoot with Pat Flynn. Like, he was at a conference in Puerto Rico and got to go down there and shoot that for him. And, like, I've got to shoot with a lot of awesome people. But I didn't do what I did for John again until 3 months ago. And so, like, I have to get in this habit of, like, what can I do that offers crazy amounts of value to somebody with no expectation of anything in return?
Start with generosity, like lead with generosity versus what can I get from you? And I think that's such a critical distinction. And, you know, I'm glad that you said that too. Like, I have to learn that again. I talked to some of my peers and I have this joke about every once in a while, it seems like we're on this cycle of going back to business 101. And it's like, oh, I'm really struggling lately and I'm kind of stressed out, and like, oh, I should be making more offers. Well, if I need to make more offers, I need to grow my email. Oh, like, I've only been teaching this for a fucking decade now, but apparently I need to remember every once in a while that the rules that I teach to other people still apply to me too.
It's hard. Like, doing marketing. Like, I have a client that I'm helping with his marketing, and the stuff I'm telling him, it's like super obvious stuff. Like, why didn't you do that like 2 years ago instead of waiting to hire me to tell you? It's like, this is a super obvious fix to your problem. Again, like you said, though, like, why am I not taking my own advice all the time? Like
sometimes
like
the obvious is not quite so obvious. And I just laugh at it because this theme has been happening lately of sometimes the advice that I find myself giving is the advice that I needed the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coaching
I'm really
Angie.
bad about that. And I'm trying to like recognize when I'm advising my clients to do something. It's like, all right, I need to make that a priority. If it's good enough advice for me to tell my clients, then I need to be acting on it.
Exactly. Yeah. Leaders do. They lead by example. Oh, this has been such a great conversation. They don't get to see the wonderful Disney picture, but I get to enjoy it. And like, hell yes, I'm going to be in Orlando later this year. We need to do Disney together, and maybe we bring the audio equipment out in public and just do an impromptu something or other.
We'll do an extra episode at Disney.
At Disney. Cool. Thank you so much for being on the show. Tell us a little bit more about where they can find you on the web.
Yeah, go to mattpeet.com. That's MATTPEET.com. It's spelled like the coffee. I need to get some royalties there or something.
Yeah, I know. Promote the coffee there, like Matt Peet's coffee. Woo.
That's what I tell people because they always spell it PETE. So I'm like, it's Matt Peet. Peet spelled like the coffee. Mattpeet.com. That's where you can find everything. I'm building out my services over there. I'm switching over. Like I said, I've got one wedding left this year until I'm full on. All of my clients are now marketing clients. I've replaced that wedding income with marketing clients. I've been trying to phase it out over the past couple of years. 4 weddings total this year. I did 2 of them this past weekend. So one left and everything is marketing from here on out. And I could not be more excited about that.
Hell yes. You and I, we have to talk about my idea for a video project, which is called Fun with Failure.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds good. And your episode is actually going to be, I don't know when this episode comes out, but your episode is going to be going live on my podcast, the Matt Peet Marketing Podcast as well. So people can find that over at mattpeet.com as well.
Well, I know they know by now that I love to talk. So yeah, definitely go listen to other podcast episodes on mattpeet.com. Thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to have to do this again, and I will see you at Disney World.
Awesome. See you there.
So that is it. Another awesome episode of Permission to Kick Ass on the books. If you want to know more about the show, if you want to know more about me, Angie Coley, and the mission I'm on to help entrepreneurs punch fear in the face and do big, bold things, then head on over to permissiontokickass.com. That is all one word together, permissiontokickass.com. Make sure to sign up for my email list so that you know whenever there's a hot, fresh, and ready podcast episode out for you. And also on Mondays, I like to send out a little newsletter called Kick Monday's Ass. I'm sure you're totally surprised by that. So thank you for being here with me today. I'm Angie Coley. Make sure that you share this with a friend that needs to hear this message today. Like it, share it, comment wherever you're listening to this today, and let's go kick some ass.